So great. Hey, hello everyone. I hope some of you are enjoying the Monday practice off. Please mute your please mute and take off your video. We're going to start a little right now. We have our guest already logged on. We had a 5-minute chat before. It was great to catch up. But we want to start off by thanking Henry Kessler, Benny Fajardo, John Gallagher, and Kyle Martina for being on and sharing an evening with you guys. This is the agenda, basically. I'm going to go over some videos. Now, as I told these guys, I'm not an expert in Zoom, so bear with me as I get the videos on. We'll come back. We'll introduce our guests. We'll let them say hello, tell them a little bit about themselves. We'll go through some rapid fire questions, which is you take 10 seconds to answer. We'll ask them about the Beachside experience. And then on the chat room only, you'll be asking questions that basically Paul will be streamlining and giving questions out. And those questions can be to individuals or they can be to the group. Now, Benny and Kyle probably don't know this, but Henry and John sat in our meetings. We always talk about our alumni, and Benny's name always came up. Kyle's name have always come up. And now our next generation with John and Henry will continue that because they all bring something to the table. So we're excited to hear from them. So as I check out of this, I have to stop share according to Eleni, then share again and go to the videos. Okay, I'm going to go right through these videos and we'll start with Henry.
Against Montreal in that game. Wins delivery. It drops dangerously. Kessler stakes it. And the rookie has his first Major League Soccer goal. The refs finally make the set piece pay off. An impact in this match. Lee Win whips in the corner. It goes near post by Henry Kessler. Rebounds off his chest. Keeps his body over the ball. And makes solid contact and just blasts it to the lower right, inside the lower right post. Fantastic finish from the young rookie. That game.
Bear with me. Hey, Henry, we talked about this on the phone. Did you ask Bruce to put you up front after that? You look like a number 9.
Yeah, he would never. He makes fun of me for not scoring enough. But
actually, when they said it was a corner, I thought it was a header, no matter what. But good finish there. Let's go to John now, who knows a lot about finishing. So let's see how this looks.
Some of the crispest, cleanest, tightest passing we've seen from Atlanta United in quite some time. A couple bodies here. You see Emerson Hyman, who has been further up the field all game long. A great little touch. Hyman continues to run. Look at that. Lovely little touch. Emerson Hyman in for Gallagher, who finds Adam John back to Hyman.
So, John, you score a lot. I know you're the leading scorer. When we were picking this one out, we didn't know if we picked that one or the one against Miami. Which one do you thought was better?
Probably that one, just because of the passing was pretty slick, and the 1-2 touch was.
Well, just in case you like the other one better, there it is. I think I got it.
Thanks.
Eric Rometty. Floats for Lorenz. To the ball to the feet of Gallagher. Joe Gallagher! Oh, what a goal! Incredible response. And it's the other. What an absolute blast from John Gallagher. They press, they pick up a ball. Great little head nod down from Jake Mulroney. Out to Jefferson Minowitz, who sees George Bell on it. But look at the spot that Gallagher sets himself up in and blasts that past Robles.
John, I've seen that over and over and over when you played for Beachside. So both of them pretty much define you. Now, Kyle, I'm going from youngest to oldest because of the video quality, but do you mind if I go to you and then go to Benny? Because I think Benny's goal, the one I have, is one of the best goals I've seen in a long time.
I'm just amazed you found a goal of mine.
Well, the HD gets worse. So let's go to Kyle. Do you remember this goal, Kyle? Sorry.
That's a nice.
You remember that, Kyle?
Yeah, it cut off. I did a sweet dance move at the corner flag after that.
Why are you falling down after you shoot the ball? I don't get it.
Exhausted.
Okay. And Benny, I know you remember this one.
Fran Simek, el detective, se acabaron los cambios. Spector ni siquiera puede caminar. Lo quieren llevar de a poquito y ni siquiera puede caminar. Me parece que lo van a subir a lo que se conoce como el carrito de las desgracias. ¡Golazo!
Ah,
¡Golazo, golazo, golazo! ¡Aso, aso, aso! ¡Jesús! ¡Qué golazo, Pablo! Fíjate, en el segundo tiro de esquina, los Estados Unidos encuentra el gol, un rechace, le queda fuerita del área, no la piensa mucho de derecha.
You know, Benny, you remember that goal? You want to go over it a little bit? It was
I
the
remember
World Cup
watching.
final against Mexico, and
I
thankfully,
remember.
yeah,
I
thankfully the Mexicans don't know how to clear a corner. But
Yeah, it's tough off of Taylor's big head, but I remember watching that after I did it. But while I did it, I don't really remember too much other than after the game. But the only thing I do remember is Landon yelling at me while the ball's coming down, or at least he told me later to play it back out to him. So
that's Landon, though. Kyle, you know a little bit about Landon. But anyway, so hey, thanks about those were awesome videos. I got through it. Now I can go to my PowerPoint. Let's get through this. So let me introduce Henry Kessler, who attended the University of Virginia, was drafted in the first round in it's his first year of MLS. Henry, hello.
Hey, Mickey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Well, the stories we always tell, and I have a little caveat, guys. So just so you know, Henry's the guy who came to us at 16, played 16 through 19. He originally was from Manhattan, took the train into Bridgeport every day, walked through the city of Bridgeport. So thankfully you're okay. And ended up always being the first guy in practice and last guy in practice. So they remember you for that. I want to introduce John Gallagher, who actually played with us at the age of 12 and 13. Then went to back to Ireland, and then came back even stronger, bigger, and fitter at the age of 16 and played with us 16 through 19. And he went to Notre Dame, and he's currently the leading scorer for Atlanta United. Benny Feilhaber played with us. He was from, Benny, you lived in Wilton then, came from Scarsdale, lived in Wilton, played with us, I think 12, 13, 14, and 15. The way the kids in our program remember you is I call you and still call you to this day, and I've been everywhere in the world, the best 12 or 13-year-old player I've ever seen in the world. But before I do that, I forgot to say hi to John. John, hello.
Hello, Mickey. How are you?
Thanks for coming on. Benny, what do you think of me considering you the best 12 and 13-year-old I've ever seen in my life?
I don't think many people would probably agree with you because, I mean, I was this small, and I feel like most people in the U.S. want, the bigger kid, the faster kid. I wasn't fast. I like the ball at my feet. I like to do things that probably most American 12-year-olds didn't want to do or didn't know how to. But I would say that you have a keen eye if you thought that.
well, I'll say this, Benny, Mickey wouldn't shut up about you. I remember him being I come back and train at Beachside. There's this kid, Benny. Like, you got to come back and see this. This is crazy.
So, Benny, what was interesting, I'm helping you answer one of the questions down the line, but the reason you were so good, it wasn't, you had pretty much everything, and you were underdeveloped and small, but you had the brain IQ of an 18 and 19-year-old, and it was unheard of at that time, and you would do things. I can go on and on about stories about you. And then we have Kyle Martino, who reminds me so much of myself when I was growing up in training. His passion and infatuation with the ball was incredible. He was the one player in the club where I've trained more one-on-one hours than anyone in my life. But Kyle, do you remember some of those days of training? How crazy where we went and what we did?
Norwalk, right down the hill from your house, where there was only like a like a terrible glowing light that barely lit half of that space, and we still would somehow find a play there.
You remember the track where my dad would put on the lights in the car and we trained?
I also remember there was a like a wall that had a little slit in it that was just the size of a ball, and we would try to hit the ball against the wall and get it through that little channel.
For all the Norwalk residents, that was the old Norwalk High paddleboard courts. So a couple quick facts before we go on to a rapid fire, but thanks. Last week we announced Team of the Week. Henry and John were on MLS Team of the Week, and I don't think it's ever been before where two kids from the club were on MLS Team of the Week. I made a big deal with MLS about it. Unfortunately, they didn't really promote it because we're not an MLS club. But I don't think you're ever going to see it again. I told them I think you're going to see it again, but it's going to be the same two guys. So congratulations on that. Benny attended UCLA, where he's now coaching. Kyle attended Virginia. They all chose the college pathway because everyone's always so interested about college or the pro pathway. A couple of things. 3 of these players were underdeveloped at the age of 12 to 14. And I'm not sure who was smaller. It was Benny, Kyle, or John. I'm thinking, Paul, it was John.
Yeah,
John was probably
100%. Yeah, I was like 4'9" till 15.
and one of the problems with Kyle, he wasn't always small. He was light. We were always worried about windy days. And the coach didn't like you to play you on windy days. But
That's why I grew the hair to just add some weight.
yeah. So 3 of these guys were underdeveloped. And couple things. Benny's claim to fame, correct me if I'm wrong, Benny, was in the under 19 or 20 World Cup where we upset Argentina and you marked Messi out of the game and you were player of the game. Is that correct?
Second half, Messi came in. He was always the second half sub because nobody knew about him yet. And Peter Vermees told Ziggy, hey, this guy, because Peter was in charge of scouting Argentina. So he told Ziggy, hey, you got to put somebody on Messi or this guy's going to crush us. And Ziggy said, nah, we're doing fine. And then 1 minute later, Messi dribbles the whole team and almost scores. Okay, let's put Benny on him. So I wasn't much of a defender, but I did as much as I could. And we got a little bit lucky that Messi wasn't on his A game that time, but we won 1-0. And then Messi got angry enough to never lose another game in the 20s and win the whole thing.
Yeah, that was funny. And Kyle, a little bit about, I know you told me a little bit. You want to share a little bit of your experience with David Beckham? You played with David Beckham at LA Galaxy?
Well, before that, I was asked to do a man marking job one time in Columbus. Greg and Jules thought it would be a really good idea because I was quick to mark Valderrama. And that went really, really poorly. He tore us apart.
Wow. Okay. Nothing about David Beckham then. I get that.
El Pibe.
El Pibe. I actually, Kyle, the game you came to and watched me in MLS, it was that game against El Pibe, and I marked him. I actually went up to him on a penalty kick, Benny, and I said, hombre, está nervioso. And he looked at me and said, get out of the way, man. And he put it right in the corner. So anyway, let's get to the rapid fire. We'll open up the discussions after. So rapid fire round. And we'll start. Kyle, you get to choose. You want to go oldest to youngest or youngest to oldest? You're the oldest guy. What do you want to do?
Let's start with oldest. I got to go to bed soon. I'm an old man.
Okay. Who is your favorite player in the world? Say it again.
I mean, currently playing ever.
No, ever.
Maradona.
Benny?
Messi.
John?
Messi.
Kessler?
Cristiano.
Okay. Who's your favorite coach? Someone who you would love to play for? Current, past, whatever. Kyle?
Bruce.
You played for him, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, someone that you haven't played for?
Yeah, someone who would you love to play for, like that you know?
Favorite coach that I haven't played for?
It could be Bruce. I guess I'll leave it at Bruce. Fine. Benny?
Alex Ferguson.
Oh, Alex Ferguson. Okay, Benny?
Pep Guardiola.
John?
Same, Sir Alex.
Henry?
Diego Simeone.
Wow. Look at that. What
You
a
like-
contest. Wow. So Henry might tackle someone on the video.
Yeah.
Favorite pregame meal, Kyle, that you can remember? I know what it is now, but when you were playing, buddy.
I hated pregame meals.
So you didn't eat?
Yeah, but what if you ate at home though?
I didn't eat many of them.
Okay, how about you, Benny? You have one?
Yeah, spaghetti bolognese.
Okay, how about you, John?
Just spaghetti with chicken.
And Henry?
Brown rice and chicken.
Brown rice and chicken. Okay, any pregame rituals or superstitions, Kyle?
No, I didn't have any. That's funny. I remember a lot of players. Even Landon had his like kissing his wrist thing. Like a lot of players had superstitions. I didn't have any.
The hummingbird, right?
Yeah.
That was with he had the same tattoo with his ex-wife, I believe.
Yeah.
Like his ex-wife had one too.
And he would
How about you?
like how many times
During the
on
penalty thing. Yeah. I don't have many rituals. I think the one thing that I remember I had during the 20s, I would always listen to Oasis before the game because it helped us win, and then I forgot to in the game that we lost.
Idiot.
John?
I just tape my left wrist, and then I've always put on like my right side before my left side, like with shoes inside.
Wow. Okay, cool. Good. Henry?
I always make sure to walk the pitch beforehand. I feel like it's a pretty common thing to do for an away game, but I also do it for home games just to kind of like visualize myself playing before the game. So that's something that I do before every game.
So Henry, last weekend we played New England. I talked to Scales, and I told him how you're doing. He said, great. And he said you have a pregame warm-up kind of a thing. Is it like a Steph Curry thing, do you, or what?
Yeah, I think that's what he's referring to, but like for home games, oftentimes people don't really walk the field because you're more familiar with it.
Right.
But I'll kind of walk I'm playing left center back right now, so I'll kind of walk to the like back left part of the pitch on both sides and just like visualize myself passing or making plays that I might in a game. So that's kind of my routine.
Yeah, he kind of told me that. Okay, favorite pro moment, Kyle?
Probably my first cap with the U.S. team.
Nice. You remember who it was against?
Yeah, we played El Salvador at our, and we were the away team.
Wow. Heated environment. Betty?
It's hard to beat that goal against Mexico, but I'll say that's 1A, and 1B is when Landon scored against Algeria, and I was right behind him trying to chase him down
In the World Cup.
in
Yeah,
the World Cup.
that was really nice. The other thing about Betty that I don't know if people remember, the best year you had with actually Peter Vermes, who was my roommate at MetroStars, you were third in MVP, correct? Was Javinko first? Who was first?
Jovinko was first, and Kai Kamara was second.
And you were third. That was your best year.
Jovinko, to be fair, was first, second, and third, though. He really crushed
Yeah, he was good that year. He was good. John Gallagher, your favorite pro moment? I know it's 3 years, but
Probably scoring against Rangers in Scotland.
for Aberdeen?
Yeah.
What was that experience like going there for a year in between MLS seasons?
Oh, it was crazy. Like the style of play over in the UK is completely different. It's so much more physical, and obviously like the fans are absolutely crazy over there. So it's a little different to MLS.
Right. And Henry, so far in your short career?
Yeah, I don't have many, but maybe the goal against Montreal. I don't score often, so I think it's one that I'll remember.
And just for the record, actually, Henry has been Team of the Week 3 times so far. And I don't know if you know this, Henry. I'm a kind of superstitious, but Kyle was the Rookie of the Year as well in his first year. And I know you're going to be one of the finalists. So good luck on that. Benny, he did play in Yankee Stadium last night, and he said he hated it. I don't think Kyle or John have yet. But I actually went to a game and saw you play there, Benny. What'd you think of that field?
Terrible. I played twice there. We won once and lost once. Or maybe I even played 3 times, but it's just not fun, man. The grass is not good. It's tough to kind of even get your bearings right because it's like sometimes it's diagonal and it's just a really weird environment. So not great. I mean, you're obviously not playing in a soccer stadium. So
Yeah. Okay. So the last question, Henry, I think I know what it is. It's your administrators and trainers, but John. What now? This is MLS, not international. What's your largest MLS crowd you played in front of, Kyle?
It was probably Giants Stadium in Beckham. First year we went to go play them. It was some crazy game. I think it was like 5-4.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like 72,000.
No, I don't think it was 72 though. I think it was like 65.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, Benny.
I was at that game. I was at that game, by the way.
Yeah,
It
Benny was one of the 65,000. Benny.
I think it was when I played against Atlanta a couple years back in Atlanta in their in Mercedes-Benz.
What's that atmosphere like, Benny?
What's that?
What's that atmosphere like? I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, it's great. I absolutely detest artificial turf. But Atlanta's somehow is a little bit different than most. It runs better. I don't know if it's because it's indoors or if the turf itself is something different. So it plays a little bit better. I mean, the fans are great. They've got a great environment. Obviously, they're struggling right now, but they had an unbelievable team for 3 years. And so it was exciting to play there. We got crushed. It was LAFC's first year, and we had a bad performance that day, but it's a great environment to play.
Okay, John, did you get any chance to play in your first year or second year there? No, right?
No, this is my first year playing, so zero.
And
fans.
there's no fans now.
No.
How about in Aberdeen? What was the biggest crowd in Aberdeen?
Probably at Celtic, played in front of like 62,000.
Right. And Henry, no fans now. So what was the biggest crowd in Virginia? You're going to get bigger crowds, but what was the biggest crowd in Virginia?
Yeah, the national final this past year we had 10,000, but actually week 1 we played against Montreal at their Olympic Stadium, and I think we had 30,000 there. So that was a lot for me.
So let me just tell you, I know Benny and Kyle played internationally, but I made sure it was MLS because I wanted to have one up on all of you. But that was, look at the largest crowds in MLS. Look at this. John at DC United, Toronto, Orlando City. John did not play, and Benny, it doesn't say LAFC. The 4th largest crowd until Atlanta came in was the Metro Stars in the Rose Bowl. And there's me. The pictures, they're so old. So I beat you, all 4 of you. All 4 of you.
You guys are losing, dude.
Huh?
You guys are losing. LA 1-0.
Oh, I know, but yeah. Anyway, look at these pictures. But Benny, what was the largest international crowd you played in front of? Was it the World Cup?
That's a good question. No, I think it's probably Azteca. Azteca. I played in Azteca, so that's probably bigger than any World Cup stadium that I played in.
Yeah. So, guys, that was the rapid fire. Little fun. I'm up 1-0 right now. You guys have plenty of time to come back. So we're going to go over a little bit of your beachside experience. We have the next 10 minutes to do that, and then we'll open it up to the players and families. So as best as you can describe yourself as a player during your years at Beachside. Let's start with Henry.
Describe myself as a player during, okay.
It shouldn't be that hard. It was like 2 years, 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. I would say committed, determined, a lot of intangibles. So a guy that worked really hard, wanted to prove himself and always felt like he had to prove himself, and just tried to do whatever it took.
Wow, that was perfect. We'll get through this nicely if you guys could. Unfortunately, Kyle loves to talk. But anyway, John, how about you, John? What do you remember of yourself at Beachside?
I remember being super competitive. I wasn't the best loser. But similar to Henry, really committed and super passionate and just loved soccer. You said yourself as well, I was pretty small, so had to work on a lot of the fundamentals and the ball at my feet rather than, other stuff.
Do you remember, John, when you came back and you had to go to a new academic school and it was a lot harder than it was back home, and I told you can take 2 of the 4 days off, and you said thank you very much, and you never took a day off. I don't know why you did that, but
yeah, it was pointless giving me that option.
Benny, how about you, Benny?
Yeah, I mean, I got some similar stuff that when John said, I was small. I love the game so much. I mean, I still do, but it was about being out there competing. I hated to lose. I still hate to lose. So that, I think probably all of us have a little bit of that in being professional players. But I worked a lot on my touches, technical abilities. I had a great relationship with the players around me. I mean, we had a lot of fun. It was like it was a family, that team. So that's
Benny opened a state cup final against West Hartford, who was FSA. Your first year, we haven't lost a game. We score with 8 minutes left in the game, and you're our number 10. And then last 8 minutes of the game, you're playing sweeper. And the coach, who was Simon, Kyle, says to me, "What is that guy doing?" I go, "Let him do it. Let him do it." The team did not get one shot on goal, and we ended up winning 1-0. That's why your IQ is high. Kyle, do you remember any moments? We're talking about competitive. Kyle used to go behind the backstop and cry. But anyway, Kyle, go ahead.
I was next level competitive. I would think, act, and be creative.
Yeah.
I remember definitely a lot of soccer tennis against Mickey where he would just cheat nonstop. Never that cheats more in soccer tennis than Mickey does. I remember I have like vivid memories of this one thing that we used to do this. You would have us after training kind of pause and lie down and like and kind of visualize and like reflect on the training session. And I always like at first I hated that because I wanted to get up and I wanted to work on stuff at the end of training. But that was always a really I don't know. I took that with me throughout my career of kind of reflecting on a training session and trying to think, you know, what did I bring today in training? You know, where are the areas where I could have been better? And I think trying to show how skillful I was every time I was on the ball was a big challenge for me when I was younger. It was a bit of a chip on the shoulder type thing. So I remember reflecting on that, sitting and lying and trying to be different in the next training session.
Okay, great. Favorite beachside moment, if you have any? I know, Henry, we had some good ones.
Yeah, my favorite moment. Maybe I think that trip to Dallas for playoffs. I really enjoyed that, playing with a bunch of those, Danny Larinetto, John Dennis, a lot of those guys. I thought that was maybe my favorite moment as a beachside player.
Yeah, in our year 2 of academy, we made the final 8. That was one of the best teams we've ever had, along with Benny's team. Benny's team and that team were 2 of the best teams we had. How about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, I left and came back to Beachside when I was 16, so it was like a 4-year gap. So it was probably my favorite moment was coming back to like the same guys that I was such good friends with and had such great connections with. I think Benny said it, like my team was saying, was pretty much a family, and I still stay in contact with a lot of those guys.
That's great. Benny, if you can go that far back, do you remember your moment?
Yeah, I mean, obviously winning state cups right up there. And honestly, it's funny looking back, but I still have videotapes of us playing indoor soccer at Oakwood. And those are some pretty cool moments too, because when are you ever going to play indoor soccer on a hockey rink? So that was pretty fun.
Nice. Kyle, you remember any?
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember if it was state cup or what, but I remember putting it on Oakwood one time and just absolutely loving it. And we just couldn't give the ball away, and they were whining. It was awesome.
Kate, how about can you recall, if any, if there's none, that's fine, any challenges or adversity you remember dealing? Because we always talk to our players about how we deal with adversity. And Kyle, you and I had a discussion the other day about you learn so much more from losing and dealing with setbacks than you do from winning. Winning, you think about it, you're happy, and then it goes away. Losing, you think about it all night. But Henry, any moments that you felt that there was a challenge for you at Beachside?
Well, there was a challenge getting there every day. So the commute was challenging, but challenge during my time. Yeah, I would say I was trying to get the best out of everyone. You know, I was the new guy coming in U16 or whatever. That squad had been together for a while. So I was just trying to fit in, but at the same time, you know, trying to be a leader and trying to encourage people and have a bigger voice than maybe I was meant to. So that was a challenge in the sense that I was new, but, you know, kind of wanted a bigger role.
Actually, you were fantastic with that, and that's what they respected most about you. How about you, John? Any challenges?
Yeah, I mean, probably setting my priorities. I know Beachside was such a big commitment for me, and you know, when my friends are having sleepovers on Friday night and I'm missing out because I've got to rest up for my soccer game Saturday morning, just kind of like realizing that soccer was what I wanted to do and had to give up some other things on the side.
Good. Benny, can you recall any? I mean, you were young.
Yeah,
Man.
I can actually. It's funny because I probably have never told you this, but do you remember we played Eastern FC? I think it was the name of the team, twice in state cup finals.
Yep.
And
We
I
lost
think
on the PKs.
we lost in penalties, and I missed one. I hit the post, and after that day, I never wanted to take a penalty again. And that stayed with me for such a long time. I was like, well, what's the point of taking a penalty? It's just everybody expects you to make it. If you don't, you're the GOAT, you're the scapegoat. So that stayed with me for such a long time until I finally, and it wasn't, I mean, it was probably in 2000 and maybe 12 or maybe a little bit earlier because I started taking them in Denmark. But when I came back to MLS, I wanted to take penalties. And I remember that still being kind of something that I had to get over mentally. And up until a month ago, where Ladero now has, I'll throw a little, I'll give myself a little bit pat in the back as well. But Ladero just beat me in being the only other player with, I think, 13 penalties that have never missed MLS. So I used to be the best penalty kick taker in MLS history. Now I'm the second best. So
Benny, two things about that. You scored in the MLS final on a penalty kick. I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was one of your best kicks, but I had the same experience in that. And when I missed with Norwalk High in the State Cup semifinal, I never took a kick for 10 more years. Yeah. And when I took a kick and finally made it, I felt like I wasted 10 years of penalties.
I agree 100%.
Kyle?
I can't remember if I was with Beachside or just got to Beachside, but I remember I didn't make the state team when I was younger, and I was so devastated, and I was just tiny. At that point, it was that Southern Connecticut, that turf where the ball won't even stay still for a second.
Yeah.
Hold it when you're doing restarts, and I didn't want to go the next year and try out. And I ended up just kind of getting up the confidence and believing in myself. And I went and tried out. And that was the year I made the state team, the regional team, all in that same year, which was wild. So that was a big year for my confidence. That was an inflection point where I was really down on myself.
A follow-up question to that for John, Benny, and Kyle. For our underdeveloped players now, did you ever think about your size when you were young? Because you guys were pretty aggressive and fearless. Did that ever come into thought?
Not for me.
Go ahead, Benny.
Yeah, not for me. I mean, I think the first time that I really realized other people thought about it was when I was trying to get into college, and there was very few colleges that kind of came after me. Probably one of the reasons was that I was smaller, but from my confidence aspect, I never thought about it in pretty much any time.
Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 older brothers, so I kind of, I learned the beatdown game pretty early, and we had a pair of boxing gloves in our house. And when my parents would go to dinner, they'd put my oldest brother in charge of us. And my 2 oldest brothers would make me and my brother right above me fight. You could only have one boxing glove. And so you'd have to put your other arm behind your back and just be taking shots in the face. So I kind of learned to be tough from my older brothers, but I think what it developed in my game was an ability to be elusive. I think because I was small, I knew I needed another trick. I needed just something to create space, because if someone got an arm on me or someone got a shoulder on me, I was going to be toast.
John?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Like, you gotta find ways to work around it. I never seen it as something that would stop me, but you always just kind of find a little way to work around it. And in the long term, it probably helped me more because I had to think a bit more and focus on smaller things like my touch and technical ability.
Good. Okay, we'll start with why don't we start with oldest to youngest? How did Beachside impact your career or life, if it did? Kyle?
Well, I think Beachside was my first. The word I want to use is it was my first professional environment. It felt like a pathway to something. It felt respectful of each other. It felt people dedicated to a craft and trying to become something as a player and as a person. So it was kind of my first moment of saying, the community of developing with players in a club. This is what that's supposed to feel like.
Betty?
I agree 100%. That's what I was going to say. I think the Beachside, so I came into Beachside at U12. Before that, I had played AYSO, and I had played a travel team, which was mostly like guys from the same elementary school and, parents kind of getting together. This was about the players, not about the parents, and it was a professional environment. And it was the first time that I had been exposed to that, the type of training, coming from ex-professionals as well. Professional coaching staff. I think all that, guided me in the direction that I eventually took, which was to become a professional soccer player.
You, John?
Yeah, I'll go off the other 2 guys. I mean, it just kind of helped me be better prepared for that next step in my career, whether it was college or the pros, you know, not really being shocked when I go into a more professional environment.
Henry?
Yeah, just to touch off what these guys said, it also gave me a platform. You know, I think I was coming from Red Bull where I wasn't going to get much time this next season. So obviously switched to Beachside, and it gave me the opportunity to prove myself. And I'll always be grateful for that. And then on top of that, these connections, you know, like you said, we called each other last week, you know, and I think all of us, you know, the network of Beachside that it presents.
Yeah, I'm glad we got on and you guys got a chance to meet Kyle and Benny, you two especially. It's great. So we're running a little behind schedule, but we have obviously time for question and answers that Paul will streamline and ask, and then we'll close it up in around 12 minutes, and I'll go to you, Paul.
I know there were two. Well, guys, again, thank you so much. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on the chat from everybody. So for those that can't say it themselves, we thank you so much for taking the time to be here. But I know the staff was curious, and I'll get to a couple of the parents and players. But for Benny, what was it like to play in the World Cup? You know, all these kids have dreams of that, but what was that moment like for you personally?
It's like what you dream of. So I remember I made the team, which was, you know, it's hard to like even describe it really into words, but I mean, it's the dream that everybody, you know, wants to be at the World Cup, want to play in the World Cup, and making the team was the first step. And I remember thinking, you know, I'm going to play in a World Cup. The first game we played against England, I didn't come in off the bench, and I was so disappointed. I'm like, man, I made this team and now I'm just going to sit here on the bench. And I don't know if I'm going to play. And I even remember having a conversation with the assistant coaches. I'm like, man, you know, what do I got to do? What do I got to do to, you know, prove it that I can be out there, help the team, this and that. And I don't know if that made any difference, but in the next game, I came in off the bench at halftime, and I remember playing that game, and we got a result. We were down 2-0. We came back and tied Slovenia, which really we should have won, but it kept us in the World Cup at that point. And it was, I mean, I remember after that game, it was, you know, delirium. I couldn't believe it. I could always say now I played in a World Cup, which is something that, you know, as a kid, as much as you want to be there, it just seems like such a faraway dream. For it to become reality is really what it is. It's a dream.
That's great. I guess now to you and to Kyle and both Benny, what advice, not necessarily to our Beachside guys, but what advice would you give to John and Henry as, you know, they're in their professional careers, and what would you recommend for them?
Mine's kind of a simple one, which is to really try to look up and enjoy. I think a lot of what, you know, for my career was tough is once I got to a point of a lot of injury and really struggled to get back to form again, I'd missed the moment to really check in with all these cool experiences and look up and enjoy them. You know, I think we get so fixated on make the next team, make the next line, sign the next contract. We're so good at deferring the enjoyment of what we've already accomplished because we're so worried the complacency will come in. And I just say, you know, just look up from time to time and just think to yourself, I can't believe I'm playing a game for a living. This is amazing.
I would say the advice that I would give them, and I'd probably give this to all, you know, the kids listening in as well, which is something that somebody told me and it kind of resonated big time with me, was that never underestimate your true potential, because every time that you improve, your potential gets higher as well. And I feel like early in my career, I always put like limits. I mean, I would watch Rafael van der Vaart play and I'd be like, man, I could never get to that level because that guy's just this much better than me. But you don't realize how much better you can get. So I think just not limiting your potential is massive in just how you can continue to improve every day.
Paul?
That's fantastic, guys. We got streamlined questions, obviously, to our players and parents. We can't get to all of them, but I'll pick a couple here. For those of you that were able to play in Europe and in the United States, I know what were the major differences that you experienced through there for those of us who haven't had that type of experience? I know, Benny, you've played overseas. John, I know, Kyle, you had opportunities as well. But what do you think the major differences are between Europe and the U.S.?
I mean, for me, it was definitely the pressure that the club puts on you and the fans. You know, I was going over from playing a year in the USL to going over to the first division in Scotland, playing for a club like Aberdeen, which has such a rich history. So, I mean, it's a small town, but everybody lives and breathes that football club. So, like, after games, if we had lost, you know, walking to your car, you're going to get some crazy guy drunk that comes up and says something to you. You just kind of got to be, you know, thick skin and brush it off. So yeah, definitely the pressure of the fans was something that I had to deal with, and it was completely new for me in that 1 year I was over there.
I think the only thing I'd add is just the culture, right? So just different cultures all over the world. I mean, when I first went to Germany, I had to get used to not only the football, you know, on the field, but the culture off of it, the language. It was just assimilating myself with everything that was that country. And so it's a completely, you know, it's completely different in terms of lifestyle and getting used to what your life's going to be when you're playing in Europe, as opposed to when you're playing in your home country where you know everything, you can speak the language, you know, the culture is what you're used to. So that's a big, big part of it.
Fantastic, guys. Fantastic. I'll end with two more, but one over here, and I'll summarize this one. But what are your recommendations to the kids and that are really overly nice, and maybe they don't bring that same type of competitive spirit? And I could speak, you guys are four of the nicest guys we know, but when you're on the field, there is a difference. What do you recommend to the kids that just come, and is it teachable? Is it not teachable? And maybe what was your mindset going into training and games? How did you turn that switch on?
Why don't we start with Henry and go up?
Perfect.
Yeah. As soon as you get on the field, it's a different element. So once you cross those lines, it's a different story. You can be the nicest guy off the field, but once you're on the field, you know, you have to be a pest. You have to be annoying. And that's a lot of my job as a defender, is to just bother the striker, or bother my opponent in general. So, you know, you can be, and I still have teammates to this day that I think are too nice, you know, helping guys up and whatnot. But, you know, it's part of the game is being annoying and trying to disrupt your opponent. So I think off the field, you can be nice, but as soon as you cross those lines, it's a different story.
John?
Yeah, I guess just finding what motivates you the most. You know, everyone's going to have different goals, whether it's to go play in college or go pro. For me, it was always to play professional soccer. So, you know, that switch for me was, whether it was in training or games, you know, I wasn't going to let my teammates in small-sided or opposition in a game against Oakwood, like I wasn't going to let anybody get in my way, and that was that kind of competitive edge that I had.
Benny?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, being competitive is kind of innate in a lot of levels for athletes, and so I think in that sense, that's something that's maybe difficult to teach. But at the same sense, especially the higher the level you go, it becomes a mental game as well, right? So it's not just the physical or the technical aspect; it's a mental game, and so you got to put yourself in that mindset when you cross the white lines, like Henry said, and almost maybe change your persona a little bit from, you know, however you are to however you want to be on the field, you know, how you want to be perceived and how you want the opponents to see you. So there's definitely a little bit of a mind game in there, and that's a little part of it.
Kyle?
I mean, forget turning it on. Sometimes it's hard to turn it off. I'm almost 40 and I'm competitive going through a turnstile. So it's like, yeah, you kind of, like Benny said, I think you don't coach that into someone like you have it. And I don't know if anyone watched the Jordan documentary, but, you know, he was a hero of mine growing up. I just, like, one fascinating part of that documentary I took out of it was he could manufacture stakes. You know, he could create the artificial urgency in stakes and convert it into real. And, like, that's combined with so many things, what made him so special, which is he could make every play, every moment matter like it was the winning shot. And he could create that for himself, which is like, I just found that so fascinating.
Paul?
Fantastic. We'll end with the last one here. Regarding your college experience and also recruitment, you guys talked about being undersized, and I'm sure you went through different avenues and offers. But now in our new normal with COVID, what are your recommendations for the kids going through this college experience, our juniors and seniors? Should they wait out for that offer in that school that may come, may not come, or what are your recommendations for them when they have this difficult decision for the next stage of their life? Guess maybe we'll start with we'll go back with Henry.
Yeah. In regards to COVID and how to be seen right now, I think it's difficult for everyone. So I'm not sure a solution to that. But if good players will be seen, I will say that, and you never know who's watching, so always give it your all. Something that I always knew I wanted to go to a premier school, a premier soccer school. So when I didn't have the offers that I necessarily wanted, I made sure to wait and be patient, and eventually a school like Virginia came to me with the offer that I liked. So I took that, but I had to be patient.
John?
Yeah, just kind of going off what Henry said. I mean, the offers might not come right away, but you just got to be patient and keep working and make sure you're ready, whether it's for a practice or a game. You never know who's going to be watching. And Henry said that, and it's so true, because I've had many occasions where that's happened in my career. And just, be patient, because the offer might not come right away, but it will feel right when it does, and you'll be able to make the right decision. It will feel right.
Benny?
Yeah, obviously with COVID, I think that's a difficult question. I don't know if anybody knows an answer to any of COVID questions, let alone, college and COVID. But I was a guy that was not highly recruited to college. There was a few colleges that, universities that wanted me. Very few offered any kind of scholarship. And I was living in Irvine, California at the time, which is an hour south of LA. I knew UCLA had a great soccer program. They had just won the title the year before. They had a great school. So academically, my parents had always pushed me academically. So I knew that it was a great school to go to. And I was a walk-on. Some people are going to get offers to get a scholarship. Other people won't. And it just depends where you're developing, how you're developing, when you develop. And so for me, I honestly, I hadn't even thought of going pro until I actually got to UCLA, walked onto the team, made the team, and started kind of feeling that ambition from all the players around me. And so my point being is that you don't know where your path's going to take you, and it doesn't necessarily end. It's not the start or the end necessarily of where you want to go to school or who gives you the best offer or how much scholarship you get. Everybody takes different paths. And so I think that's, important to keep in mind, because you can go to a small school and end up in the pros, and you can go to a massive school and not end up in the pros. So it's all about finding that, that good place for you. And like all the other guys said, be patient, because it'll get there.
Kyle?
I think this is a difficult decision, and more difficult than it's ever been. I to this day, I had the chance to go to Benfica instead of UVA, and I chose UVA because the pro route back then wasn't an obvious choice. There weren't a lot of young Americans doing it, and I regret it to a certain extent. But like Benny said, there's no guarantee that you start a professional career young and it works out. And just like there's no guarantee you go the college route and it works out, but a guy like Claudio Reyna, that's one of the best players we ever produced, went the college route. And so, there's many different ways to get there. I'd say the only calculus to use when you're making any decision in your world is, are you playing? Is there a path to playing? This is one decision you have to think through. And more important than that is try to not stay the best player on a team for too long. That's something that I would always get anxious if I thought I was one of the better players and I could be a lesser version of myself and still be starting or still be one of the guys that's counted on week in and week out, I would think to myself, I'm not in the right environment.
Paul, was that the last one? Because I want to add a little bit. Let me just add a couple.
Yeah,
For
please.
all our college kids, our sophomores, juniors, and seniors, I'm putting together a document on dealing with the COVID situation. I've reached out to 3 Division I, 3 Division II, 3 Division III with all our questions, and that document will be ready in a week. The second thing, I just want to repeat because I didn't know this. Benny, you said you were a walk-on at UCLA?
Correct.
Wow. Good. You have any more, or is that it,
I
Paul?
think that's a good place to end, guys.
Look at that right away. Benny, the best 12-year-old ever, doesn't get recruited. I'm the number 1 recruit in the country. I don't go to a World Cup. Benny does. It doesn't. You
never know.
Man, it just
The lines are intersecting always.
Okay, so we're going to end up here. Thank you all for your patience. I know you guys gave a lot of advice, but in like 15 seconds, do you have any advice to our players? We'll start with Kyle.
I mean, the simple one is if you can't work enough with the ball, and you have to absolutely love playing. Continue to love playing and find ways to love playing. Because I'm back loving the game again and love playing the game again. I lost that for a moment, and it was some of the worst years of my life not loving playing like I used to.
Benny?
I mean, I'll go back to what I said before. Don't underestimate your potential. I think it's absolutely massive. Don't think that you can't get somewhere because it's not true. Everything changes from day to day, and you just keep improving, and you'll see that potential, be maximized.
And that's great advice for John and Henry because they have the ceilings high, I expect. John, your advice?
Yeah, just always make sure that you're the hardest working and you're outworking everyone around you. And, you guys are so young. You have so much ahead of you. You have so much potential. It's such a great time to be working on those skills that maybe when you're older in the pros, you look back and you think, oh, I wish I worked on that for a couple of years.
Henry?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar to John, but, just going to practice isn't enough. You need to do stuff on your own. You can always improve your technique, like Kyle said. So working with the ball, doing stuff at home, just trying to get better and just going to practice, you need to do more than everyone else in order to become better than everyone else.
So in closing, a couple of things. And when I look at all 4 of you, and I look at a lot of our successful Beachside players, you have certain characteristics in common, and they were so evident tonight. And I thank you for being here. You're talented, you're passionate, your love for the game, your fearless competitive nature in training and in games. You come from great family backgrounds. One of the things I know all of your parents. And the funny thing about you guys is I got to know your parents more than when you graduated than when you were actually playing. They trusted the club and they trusted you to handle it when you were within the club. And finally, you guys can see, amazing, amazing young men. And all those things you all 4 have in common. And I just wanted to say thank you to Kyle, Benny, John, and Henry. We are so proud of you. We wish you the best of luck. And let me just end on this. I know I'm just as competitive as most of you, and I always love winning big games, and we've won some big games. We beat FC Dallas, the national champions. We made the Final 8 in our year 2. All those things are great, but what gives me the most emotional satisfaction and that I feel is priceless is when I see guys like Benny, Kyle, Henry, and John who are successful in their industry, and in this case it's soccer. They come back and they share their experience with all of our players. That for me is the greatest gift. And I thank you guys, and we will be in touch. And now I have you guys in contact. So Henry and John, bother Kyle and Benny. Like you said, they are our network. Call them and ask them everything you can. And Benny and Kyle, you guys make sure you always stay in touch, all right? Love you all.
We love you too.
You guys. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Out.